Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I am a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Aries happening on October 9th, 2022 at 4:54 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This full moon in Aries has some really exciting energy to it. I'm actually looking forward and enjoying this energy quite a bit because it's illuminating things that we haven't otherwise had an opportunity to see. But before we get into this, I want to at least share with you guys that have been waiting. I've gotten a lot of emails about it. Star School is coming this month. That is my signature program for learning astrology with me experientially through looking at your own chart and the charts of your loved ones so that you have the opportunity to create better relationships, utilizing and understanding the way your person and you have been built. This year, Star School will have three main courses. There will be the introductory course, there will be the course for twin flames, and then there will be a course for North Node. And learning the North Node, you don't have to sign up for all, you can just sign up for one or the other if that's what you want to do. And I'm looking forward to it because it will give you the opportunity to really deepen your understanding of yourself with astrology. It is not a certification course. It's not the kind of course you can take and then say, I've been trained by K Moon. It will carry no weight in the world. So if you'd like to become a trained astrologer, by all means, there are astrological programs out there that will help you do that. This will just help you understand the stars in the way that I read them and the people you love through that lens. So have a look for that later on this month. It should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. And I really look forward to being able to share that with you. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up. There are also a couple of sessions left next week in the calendar for personal readings. And this is a fantastic time to get one. When we get into the energy of this full moon, you'll understand why. Because there's a lot of unclarity going on here with this lunation, and that will continue as we get into the Mars retrograde, but it doesn't have to be difficult. We can talk about how to utilize this energy and focus it so that you can get the most out of the last 3 months of this year. Book with me over at kmoonastro.com. Link is below this video, and grab one of the sessions available next week or the following so we can get into the eclipse energy and the Mars retrograde energy for you. Super important for those who are Taurus or Scorpio, Aries, Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo, as well as, did I mention Aries? Yes, Aries energy as well. Okay, let's get into this lunation. So, with this energy, what we have is the full moon here. There's our sun. Whenever the sun is opposite the moon, we have a full moon energy. And the full moon has some interesting conversations happening. She's got an opposition here to Venus. Venus and the sun are conjunct in our relationship sign, Libra. So, this is a very relationship heavy full moon. We're going to be pulled toward our connections very deeply. We've got a conjunct to Chiron in Aries. So our full moon is sitting, you see, only 2 degrees away in Aries to Chiron, which reveals our wounds to us as well as our leadership. And then on top of that, we also have a square to Pallas and Lilith over here, 90-degree angle to Pallas and Lilith inside of Cancer. And this is giving us the opportunity to look more deeply at our emotional truths and emotional reality. And it also represents, I hate to say it, just a tad bit of emotional reactivity and defensiveness. We'll get into that and how to work with it in a minute. We also have a sextile to Mars in shadow. Mars goes retrograde at the tail end of this month. We've got a sextile to Mars from this full moon, which is letting us know thematically things that are coming up at this time are going to be heavily featured in between now and January during the Mars retrograde. So, how do we put all of this together? Thematically, what I'm seeing is that there's a real set of kind of emotional needs that we have in relationship that are about to be exposed because the moon can represent our needs, and it's at odds a bit with our desires. Our desires are here in Libra. That's Venus representing our desires. And so this full moon is really going to expose our opportunities for growth so that we have the chance to really and truly create alignment and congruence in our relationship so that we're not undermining ourselves in our relationships. So this full moon could have you, for example, facing the desire to start a business, but really needing to deal with certain childhood wounds and get your confidence up or change your home to support a home based business launch. That would be if this full moon is taking place on your 10-4 axis in your natal chart. It could see you having the desire to be in a relationship of your dreams with someone, but needing to tie up loose ends in an existing relationship or deal with wounds from previous relationships. This would be if this particular full moon is happening on your 1-7 axis or maybe on your 5-11 axis. It could see you having the desire to invest in a particular company or make certain sales or things with your investments going on, but recognizing you need to get the cash flow together first. That would be if this full moon is happening on your 2-8 axis. We cover axes inside of Star School. So if you don't know, totally okay. You can also book a personal reading with me and I can help illuminate this for you. But just pay attention to what I'm about to share next, because this thematically is what's going to allow you to have a very smooth ride into the tail end of the year, because this full moon in Aries is governed by the planet Mars, and Mars is about to go retrograde. And this Martian energy that's featured at this full moon in Aries is something that we're going to experience throughout the period of the Mars retrograde, which lasts until around January 12th, getting into the early part of 2023. So there's going to be some things that we don't understand in our relationships. This is mostly going to be about relationships, this particular full moon. And these things that we don't understand in relationship, that it's like, how can I put it? We're we're going to have to work backwards almost. We're going to have to see things like, okay, my wounding is up, my triggers are up, but why are they up? There's something I'm not understanding here. We're going to have to work from the trigger to backtrack it to the wound so that we can get the healing. But it's the trigger that lets us know where the work is. The potential to have really hurt feelings come up outside and with people, or come out in sideways ways with people as acting out, is really, really high at this time, because there will be no hiding our feelings from them with Lilith and Pallas in Cancer. Pallas makes us very protective of our feelings. Lilith wants us to really take a stand for ourselves. Cancer is our emotional realm. And so there's also Chiron here, which is just getting illuminated by the sun. And the sun over in relationship sign Libra is having us really reckon with our Chiron wounds that we ourselves in the sign of Aries, the sign of the self, have sustained through our connections. Okay. So the trick here is to befriend your feelings, because there will be no hiding from them during this lunation. You are going to get an intimate look at your feelings, and you're going to need to get very close to your feelings, the story that those feelings are having you believe about yourself or your person in your relationship. Could be business partnership, could be romantic, could be co-parenting connection. You're going to have to get intimate with your feelings, the story they're making you believe about your person, which may not actually be true. The story we tell ourselves may not actually be true. And it could be that we have, not what it could be, but the best way I can say this is that this particular lunation is going to highlight the difference for us between a true need and a need that's actually really wound based or trauma based. Having a lack of clarity between these two things is going to leave us with some really big question marks inside of our relationships, wondering if people get us, if they understand us, if we need to close out this relationship. We thought we were clear, we thought we spoke up, we feel misunderstood, and not having enough information from the other person or enough information about ourselves is what can lend itself to breakdowns, which won't be a bad thing because they will, in fact, lead to breakthroughs if a breakdown happens at this time. So, we've got Neptune opposite Mercury at this full moon, and Mercury is our clarity maker, sitting in the sign of discernment and decision making, but Neptune is our fog maker, sitting in the sign of the elusive and the unnameable. When these two are in opposition, they don't bring out the best in one another. In fact, Mercury is more impacted, and Mercury gets fog from Neptune, and it creates a lack of clarity in communication, a lack of understanding. The message sent is not always going to be the message received at this point in time. Okay. And that's okay. Clarity's not here yet, but it is coming as soon as Mercury gets out of range of Neptune and gets right up here into air sign Libra, which is only about a week or so away. Okay. We also have Mars retrograde in the sign of clarity and curiosity. That's over here in Gemini. Mars goes retrograde at the end of this month, isn't there yet, but is definitely in the sign of shadow or in shadow at this point, meaning it's already walking the path it's going to be on before it turns back and then turns forward again. So this period is known as the shadow period of Mars retrograde. So, thematically, the things that are coming up now are going to be things we're dealing with as we move into the tail end of the year. So, for all of us, this would mean that there's a real lack of full clarity, and no one's actions or words seem to really be lining up at this time. There could be a sense of feeling a bit like you're out here in the middle of a bunch of bumper cars and just bumping into other people's stuff, and their stuff is bumping into you. Try not to take anything personal at this time because truly it's not. Most people's stuff, with Chiron so heavily featured at this full moon and Lilith and Pallas so heavily featured as well, in emotional sign Cancer, Chiron being our woundings, both of them speaking to this full moon. This full moon is going to illuminate wounded feelings at this time. Don't take anything personal. It's not you. People's stuff is up, including our own. The best advice I can give you to work with this energy is to allow things to unfold with people. There's a real risk of not doing that because Mercury is square Mars at this time. There's Mercury there at 28 degrees Virgo and mutable sign Virgo. We've got Mars at 22 degrees Gemini. And these two in this squaring position has us want to act first and ask questions later. It makes us want to change our mind later. And if we're prideful, changing our mind may actually be hard. And this could be especially true if you're one of the fixed signs or have strong fixed placements. Once you kind of make a decision, even if it's not the right decision, I've seen fixed signs stick it out way more than cardinal or mutable signs. Fixed signs being Scorpio, Taurus, fixed signs being Leo and Aquarius. Take your time. Don't haul off and make rash decisions during this transit. You don't want to be stuck with the decision out of pride or unwillingness to change. If you know that you're slow to change, also, especially during this time, be slow to make decisions as well. Okay. Take your time, feel things out, let all the information from within yourself and from within other people surface. Okay. It'll be a really good time to see what information comes forward and to use the other energies that I'm going to talk about in a minute to do really good research, really good homework, ask good questions, get very curious so that you can really understand what you're getting into before you dive headlong into something new at this time. Within 5 to 7 days after this full moon, so this full moon is Sunday, October 9th, if you're on the eastern seaboard of the United States, so Sunday, Monday ish, depending upon where you are on the planet. By about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the week after this full moon, we will have more clarity. Okay. There will be Mercury in Libra. There's going to be no Neptune involvement. And that's going to be a really great time to do two things. Ask what you need to ask, not this week, next week. And share vulnerably, not this week, next week. Okay, the further away from this full moon we get, the easier it is going to be to ask good questions and share vulnerably. There is a real gift in this full moon energy, and that's that our vulnerability is up for us, meaning we can feel more vulnerable at this time than we feel at other times. And the closer we get to Sunday, the more vulnerable we're going to feel. And this really gives us the chance to truly just feel the truth of our emotions if we don't act out, meaning I'm feeling something, I don't like the way I'm feeling, I'm going to go drink. I'm going to go distract myself with people. I'm going to go distract myself with busyness and projects and taking actions instead of just feeling the feelings and asking ourselves, okay, why do I feel the way that I feel? It's going to be really important to differentiate at this time leading up to the full moon and around the full moon days going into Tuesday of next week. It's going to be really important to differentiate between our wounding and our needs. And so this is the best way that I can explain it. Let's just say you grew up in a household where a person has, or not a person has, but you grew up in a house where your parents let dogs consistently bite you, right? And so you grew up in a house where that was a trauma for you. And then you go out into the world as an adult. You could then have the perception that A, all dogs bite, and B, it's not safe to be around dogs, and C, you cannot deal with people who have dogs at all on any level, full stop. You have then created a wound-based need to never ever be around dogs. Okay. That is a wound-based need, not an actual need. Actual needs are things like I need to sleep, I need water, I need connection, I need sunlight, right? These are actual needs. This is a trauma created need, okay, to never ever be around dogs. When we have this thing going on where we have a wound-based need and we take it as a fact of who we are, we have solidified that trauma as a piece of our identity. We have then decided that we are that person forever. And life has to then bend to our wounding instead of us healing to the level of our full potential. Okay. And so this is the gift of this particular full moon in Aries. With this Chiron heavily featured, our wounds are going to be up. They're going to be illuminated. With this Lilith and Pallas hanging out over here square to the full moon in emotional sign Cancer, our emotions are going to be illuminated. The gift here is that we get to ask ourselves, okay, what's the true need? And what's the trauma wounding that has us feeling like it's actually a need within us or within others? We're going to have the opportunity to see the difference. Okay. The needs we can get met. We can strategize. If I've got certain needs and I can name them out loud, I can actually find a way to work with others to get the needs met. But where we have trauma, there's not going to be anything another person can do to heal us, to make us feel safe. We actually have to restore our wholeness and safety to ourselves first. Okay. So prior to this full moon, so if you're listening to this right as it's coming out, or just, right around this full moon, there can be a lot of conflation between the two things. And you may even see people coming to you saying, I have a need about this or about that or about this. And you're like, huh, what? You got a need for me to do what? Not wear yellow on Tuesdays? That makes no sense, right? There can be a real conflation between needs and kind of trauma based wounding that has us thinking we have a need. Okay. On the other side of the full moon, as long as we've not been reactionary, we've not been acting out, if we've actually sat with the feelings and really looked at them, okay, and gotten curious, which thank God Mars and Gemini can do. Mars and Gemini is a very curious energy, right? As long as we have done that part and not use that energy to just haul off and do whatever we can to feel better, then retract it, we have the opportunity to, on the other side of this full moon, restore our wholeness and healing process by being really accountable to what we bring to our relationships and vulnerably sharing what's happening for us with our loved ones so that they can really and truly be there for us. Okay. So between now and about Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the question is for ourselves, why does XYZ with so and so bother me? And this is going to be something in the world of relationships that's coming up at this time. The question is, why does this actually bother me? The second question you want to ask yourself is, and what does that mean? Okay. Fill in the blank. It's a Mad Libs. Have fun. Go crazy. Why does this bother me? And what does that mean? Let the layers of the onion get peeled back. The second part, the meaning part, is going to be interpretation, it's going to be story. And that's the part where we have access to our power because stories can be changed, especially with added insight from our subconscious or the other person's world. Okay. So, for example, let's just say you're dealing with someone who says, I can never commit to you, right? I can never commit to you because I've got to be there for my kids. This is just, I can't do this with you, right? Um, the reason they could be doing that is they could be grieving, they could protect it, they could be working really hard to protect you and their connection to you from an ex that they think is kind of crazy. They could not really be confident about their relationship skills if they've just gotten divorced. They could not be clear about some of your behaviors, but instead of actually being curious, Mars and Gemini is very curious. We could just throw the label on them, oh, they're a commitment phobe, and then decide that they're immature, have our feelings get hurt because they just refuse to step up for us. Then we could go act on it by trying to make posts on social media and illusions online that you're moving on without them to try and create jealousy, to then force their hand on an action that maybe they can't take because maybe they're grieving or they're not confident about their relationship skills. And now our hurt actions are just causing them hurt and only reinforcing their own negative beliefs about themselves. You see how this can very quickly spiral, right? Can very quickly get out of control, all because there's no real conversation happening. And we think we know the truth about people instead of using this time to get deeply curious about ourselves and our story and another person and their story. Okay. Try really using this time to get underneath other people's behavior, not by playing psychiatrist, but by actually being a curious loved one, a curious loved one. Okay. This gives us a chance, this full moon's giving us a chance to see where we are really at, what's underneath our reactions, what story are we telling ourselves, so that we have the ability to have real connection, not something contrived. So the question is, why does this bug me? And what does that mean? Question 2 is going to reveal the story we're telling ourselves that's eroding depth, intimacy, and forward movement in our connections. And this issue isn't whatever's at issue, it's not going to be the other person as much as it is our story that's causing challenges here. Okay. And it's our story that's going to reveal is, do I have a real unmet need, or do I have a wound here and a fear here that's running my show? Okay. Getting discernment here first is going to make all conversations with other humans productive. And it's going to be the best way to use this Mercury that's also opposite Jupiter during this period of time, which has a lot of optimism, a lot of mental acuity, and a lot of capacity to go a bit deeper with this Mars conversation happening with Mercury. We have a supreme ability to ask better questions, do better research during this time. Okay. We can use that to go deeper instead of acting. Okay. So this is good stuff. I like this full moon. I really like this energy because it's revealing a lot of hidden truths about us to ourselves, so we can leverage those to create deeper connection. Okay. We also have Mercury opposite Neptune. Okay. Now, I mentioned I don't love that, but this allows the emotions that are coming up and the way Chiron is featured talking to this full moon. This is what really allows us to bring more spiritual side to our emotional realities. Okay, especially with the way Pallas and Lilith are also talking to Neptune. This allows us to take a broader perspective, more spiritualized approach. And again, this gives us an opportunity to go, hey, I don't know what they're reacting to, but I don't have to take it personal. It's probably not about me. And this gives us the chance to act with more compassion toward ourselves and to other people. We all might be feeling just a little bit raw the closer to Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday we get. Our wounds are kind of out there for anyone to just brush past and activate. And the truth is, other people's actions may have nothing to do with us. And until there's discernment about our part of the party, it's going to be really difficult to have productive conversations with other people. If they don't say what we want to hear, it just reinforces our story about them and our wounding. Oh, he refuses to take the dogs away when I told him I just can't be around dogs, right? He refuses to lock the dogs up when I come over, or even just get rid of the dogs and choose me over the dogs because I have the trauma history and can't be around dogs. Until you've really reckoned with your own trauma, we do try to make someone else responsible for healing it. And when they don't, won't, or can't do it, we use that data to reinforce our trauma story. Oh, my parents didn't love me enough to keep the dogs from biting with me. Therefore, he doesn't love me enough either. We can go into that kind of thinking, that kind of irrationality that just creates separation consciousness, right? When in actuality, this man may have mice, right? And is too ashamed to tell you that there are mice. And he's using these rat terrier dogs to keep a mouse free environment. It could have literally nothing to do with you. It could be that the dog he inherited from a friend who took their life, and that's his last connection to that person. That friend could have been somebody very important to them. It could be that he made an investment in these rat terriers to make them show dogs, and he hasn't seen the return on that investment yet and doesn't want to throw his money away. It could be anything, but you see what I'm doing here. In the absence of good information, I'm making stuff up. So the question becomes, during this full moon, which areas of life and which relationships are we not on the same page with a loved one? What feelings are we having about that? And what story are we telling ourselves that's creating those feelings? This is the work during this full moon. After this full moon, as we go into the new moon in Scorpio, it's going to be a great time to get naked, reveal the stories we've made up, ask for more complete information from that loved one, have those more vulnerable conversations so that we can get on the same page with them. Great time to self observe our mental and behavioral responses when we're triggered. It's a great time to get to know who we are ourselves. Aries, full moon in Aries, sign of the self. Great time to get to know ourselves better. Okay. All right. So I talked about the full moon in Chiron, full moon conjunct Chiron, full moon opposite Venus, Venus opposite Chiron, Mercury opposite Jupiter, and Neptune, which is really giving us an opportunity to take an off ramp around our own self delusion. Thank God. I love this energy. It's like, okay, let me take a good look in the mirror and see what I'm bringing to this party. And let me be accountable for my side of the street. Favorite kind of energy. Love this. Great way to use it. Okay, so if you want to have a conversation about these things, find some time in my calendar. Like I said, themes from this period of time are going to be up for us through the end of the year. Mars rules this full moon, and Mars retrograde extends until January 12th. Okay. We also have Saturn square Uranus, which I have been talking about. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I've spoken about this at just about every lunation this year. The energy of this is change, 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 change. This energy has been asking us to make some level of dynamic change in one area of life that may have been stagnant or moving along a very particular pattern for a long time. It's going to be the area of life that Saturn governs, and the change is going to come from the area of life where Uranus is transiting in your chart. If you need me to interpret that for you, we can certainly have a look at a private reading. And we've also got Mars trine Saturn. So here's Mars at 22 degrees Gemini and Saturn at 18 degrees Aquarius. I love this air sign trine between these two. Air is thought, mind, communication. And even though things aren't all the way clear, they will get clear. This energy stays with us through the end of November. And I really like to see that. It gives us lots of good time with it, quality time with it. And it gives us the stamina, the discipline, the focus, the determination to play the long game. If there's a real estate business or a relationship opportunity or a financial opportunity that you feel you missed in the past, sometime in the past year, it could be past longer than that. This Mars retrograde and this Saturn trine, so heavily featured in it, is your second chance. It's your opportunity to make a commitment. Saturn represents commitments. Mars represents motivation. The trine brings out the both and best of them, motivation to commit. This is your chance to double down. This is your chance to go all in. And here is a piece of advice. I've spoken to several clients in the past week who have had situations with a loved one that, they're 1 minute they're engaged, the next minute they're broken up. 1 minute they're moving in together, the next minute they're broken up. 1 minute they're on, the next minute they're off. If you've been back and forth in this way and trying to figure out what do I do with this, the piece of advice I have looking at this is, rather than focusing on the future, trying to get things moving forward, trying to schedule the wedding date, etc., take that off the table for now. Use this energy instead to seal the exits. Rather than trying to force this into a future, just be in the energy of, okay, we keep finding our way back to each other. I keep finding my way back to this opportunity. I keep finding my way back to, the calling to go in this area of study. Instead of trying to future pace this, Just deal with the fact that you keep finding your way back here and stop trying to abandon it. Stop running. Just seal the exits, burn the boats, make it so that there is no plan B. And just give it a year of just focus on what it is that you've been called to that continually loops back around. Just face it and face what comes up as you're facing it. This is when our faith becomes a verb. And it's really important here, especially because these are air signs that deal with our mindset and our communication, where these two are sitting, to not undermine our good efforts with negative talk, negative language, all of this kind of, well, it never worked before. Well, you know, that's too far in the future. I got to be in the now, and the now isn't working. So that get out of that. Stay focused on the good effort of today. Seal off the exits and keep moving forward. Don't distract yourself with other stuff. Okay. What you've been shown is yours to have, but this is where we have to follow through and let our actions and words match up with our faith and not contradict ourselves with self-doubt and double speak and bringing the past not workingness into the present rather than trying to get all the way into the future. Just be in the now, seal off the exits, make your words and your actions line up. If you can just do that, you're going to find that things in this, whatever connection you're dealing with, or whatever area of life this is in for you, it could be school, it could be a business opportunity, it could be a relationship. You can just do that. You're going to find that this thing, whatever it is, moves for you. And it moves for you before we close this year, which is going to be exciting to see. Great time for networking with these particular connections. Like I said, the air signs are communication oriented. Fantastic time for striking up new business contracts, new business deals, reconnecting with people where the opportunity was there, but it didn't fully manifest. Great time to line up your opportunities for next year and reclaim missed opportunities from this year if you happen to be in sales in any capacity or business. The Lilith Palace conjunction trine Neptune. So here they are. Also, if you're in the arts in any way, you've been wanting to launch a business, great time to do that. If you've had artistic opportunities that you feel like have missed you, great time to follow up, follow through, put yourself back on the radar of those creative partners or collaborators. So Lilith Palace, they're in Cancer. Speaking over here to Neptune and Pisces. Okay. Like I said, this gives us a nice broad spiritual perspective on our emotional state and others' emotional states. And it makes us more able to be compassionate if we can just slow down the process and observe our feelings instead of reacting to them. I really love Mercury trine Pluto. I love seeing this energy as well. These two gives us an opportunity to more deeply understand ourselves and other people. And it's brilliant. It's a brilliant way to use this energy is to start therapy at this time, get coaching at this time. It's a brilliant time to look at negotiation of contracts and find win-win deals, to deal with research, look at the fine print and rewrite the contracts so that you have the opportunity to succeed with people and in your businesses. Or if you're the kind of person who's in the arts and you have an agent, this is a great time for that to take off in a good way. Okay. Also, because this Mercury is opposite Jupiter, which I also love, there's a bit of a shaking off of some of our mental cobwebs as Pluto and Jupiter both speak to Mercury here, shaking off some mental cobwebs for a more spiritual and big picture approach to business strategy. And it's a huge opportunity for those in business or sales, like I said, to recoup lost money and opportunities here. Venus trine Saturn is also sweetening the deal. Venus and air sign Saturn makes people, everyone, a bit more commitment minded, commitment focused, and looking for more partnerships, partnership minded, looking for ways to partner up, collaborate with others, and makes people more interested in what a win win commitment could look like, where everyone gets exactly what they want. If they're willing to not let their fears, that's Pluto, and their wounds, that's Chiron, get the best of them during this lunation. If fears and wounds get the best of us, you could see a lot of manipulation and strong arming here, or people kind of being a bit all or nothing, less negotiation friendly. um, Even that, if you see that kind of behavior, especially in the world of business or projects or collaborations come forward, even that is your signal to say, oh, there's something up for them. Let me find out what the fear is so we can write it into the contract that that gets handled and it's win-win for everyone. Okay. So, great opportunity to self observe, great opportunity to observe other people, to understand yourself and get that understanding to line up into more fruitful and productive relationships, to get relationships to move forward. I love this energy. It's a real shift for all of us. We just have to be willing to be patient, do our part of the work, and have vulnerable conversations on the other side of this full moon. I'm very hopeful about it. So if you've got questions, always you can find me at kmoonastro.com. Happy to walk you through the Mars retrograde and the way it will impact your chart. The eclipse energy, we've got one coming up around October 25th, 28th-ish, and then we've got another one coming up on November 8th. This eclipse energy is going to be felt as early as now. I did not include it because I would just make this video way too long, and it's already long. But if you want to get a heads up on what the eclipses look like, definitely book time. Eclipses are going to be incredibly impactful for those of you who are Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, and Leo. Okay. The fixed signs, because they are on the Scorpio Taurus axis. I'm thrilled for you, and I'm looking forward to hearing what happens next. Keep me posted in the comment section. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Take great care, and bye for now.